Hi there, welcome to my talk. This is JAMstack Deploy, and it's an introduction to a project I was working the latest couple of weeks where I try to measure and try to test the latest or the most popular cloud providers for the JAMstack. So my name is Nacho Anaya. I am from Argentina. You have there my Twitter handle. I am working as lead open source engineer in Checkly. I am part of the Auth0 ambassadors teams. This is a disclaimer for the talk. It's an early stage project, so things could change in the future, but I hope you can get an idea and you can start using it as a helpful resource anytime you would like to test a JAMstack provider. So let's start talking about the JAMstack. Starting is the new black. This is probably something you hear a lot the latest couple of months about the JavaScript APIs and markup. That's basically the main things about JAMstack. JAMstack is not a framework. JAMstack is an architecture designed to be or built to make the web faster, more secure, and easier to use. And of course, also easier to scale. You can go to JAMstack.com to get more information, but basically the main features about the JAMstack is that you can get better performance, mostly because we built everything in deploy time, not in runtime, so the user does not need to wait the content. The content is already there. We don't use web servers. We ship everything through CDNs, so everything is static. It's more secure because it's a kind of microservice approach, and you can also rely on third-party APIs. So if you don't have or the resources to take care about security, you can delegate in something like Auth0. So it's also cheaper and it's easier to scale because the way to scale is just to ship in more parts of the world, like replicate your files or serve static files in more places. This is the main things about the JAMstack. Then you have site generators or static site generators like Next, Hugo, Nux. Those are the main tools that you use every day to create JAMstack apps. And this is the kind of architecture where we compare the classic structure of a web app with the JAMstack web app. You can see on the right that the JAMstack is quite easy. It's just a client, a CDN where we ship the files, and microservices that are kind of black boxes. We, as developers, don't really care about what they do or how they do. We just need to implement them. So it's an easy structure for the JAMstack developers. So it's time to deploy. We would like to deploy our application to any kind of provider. So what do I look for in these providers? So the first thing is I would like to have SSL support out of the box. I like to have Git support like PRs or preview integrations. CLI, I love the terminal. I would like to do everything through my terminal, but I also like to have a nice UI where I don't have my computer or something, where I can write code, so I can go to the UI and do fast things. Infrastructure as code, it's a good feature because it allows you to create infrastructure using SAML, JSON, or even code, and not everything going to the UI. A nice setup process, something simple and fast. Domains, I always need a custom domain for my sites. Price, as low as possible. Performance, and learning cube. Performance is like the focus of this project, and in the future learning cube will be too, because I will try to add tutorials or things trying to show how to use those providers. So how was the process of this project? What I did to measure the performance of these providers. The first thing is that I create a dummy app. It's a Next app in the static site. So I create the same exactly app, and I deployed the same app to different providers. I start with Vercel, Netlify, Firebase, Render, GitHub Pages, and Search. So once I deployed the same exactly app to them, I went to Checkly. Checkly is a monitoring tool. It's basically the backbone of this project. It's what I am using to measure the different providers. And with Checkly, I can create checks. Basically, a check is a kind of request where I try to measure performance and get stats from this check, where I can see the response time, the time to first byte, etc. And what I did with these checks, using checklists, try to run all of them around the world, in all the AWS regions possible, so I can get different insights from different parts of the world. It's not the same if I am from Argentina, if I am from United States, if I am from South Africa. And I put all of these pieces together using JavaScript, and I decide to use the time to first byte, like the unit of measure for the project. And according to Google, 200 milliseconds, it's a good number for that. So I like to keep with that number. So I put everything together with JavaScript, Vue.js, and Checkly public API, so I can show all the information to the public without actually using or going through the Checkly UI. So you can go to that URL. You can also go to the repo, and you will find something like this. This is just the JAMstack deploy project, early stage. It's really beta now, but it's probably the beginning for something bigger. You can pick your provider. You will see there that you have more providers that are coming soon. So if you click a provider like Vercel or Netlify, you will see something like this, a nice map where you can see all the regions running checks against this site deploy. Remember, it's a Next.js app deployed in the static mode to the different providers, same application. So I can see how this application performs in the different regions, right? If I request or I try to measure the performance from US, from Australia, from Japan, from everywhere in the world. So I will get a map with the different dots. Everything green, it's below 200 milliseconds. Between 200 and 500, you will see yellow, and bigger than that, you will see red. So you have also a list where you can get the fastest time, always talking about the first byte. But in the future, I will be adding more stats and more tools where you can compare them and actually do like an A/B test. So you can go to the JAMstackDeploy.com and start checking them. And of course, PRs are welcome. My to-do list is trying to bring a better UX at A versus B, like Netlify versus Vercel, or Netlify versus Render, or whatever. And more tutorials where I can show you how to use them and which are the main features of those providers. And of course, more providers, AWS, Cloudflare, Microsoft Azure, and so on. So that's it. Thank you very much. If you have questions, you can reach me on Twitter. Any feedback, it's also welcome. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.